Let's get right to it. Lots of drama happening, of course, surrounding the NFL protests. We've been talking about this for several weeks now. The players, of course, they're focused on the issue of police brutality. And what's interesting is you have Donald Trump, you have Mike Pence, and all these folks talking about the veterans, the veterans, the veterans. You're disrespecting the veterans. This is the same guy who disrespected a POW. He wants to talk about disrespecting the veterans? Yeah, whatever. Now, there was a poll, though, taken by the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America that found that, first of all, the poll was 8,000 members who were surveyed. 98% of their members believe the First Amendment protects the right to peacefully protest. 62% believe NFL players have the right to peaceful protest during games. And also, another 55% disagree with the NFL's response. Joining us right now is Allison Jaslow, the executive director of IAVA. Allison, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm especially well because I got to start my morning with the Tom Joyner morning show lead-in. I'm a D.C. area native. It makes me dream of home.
All right, then. Well, let's get right to it. First of all, before I talk about the poll, how does it make you feel, Paul Rykoff and others, when you see what I'll phrase it this way, when you see politicians who constantly pimp the military, yet you are on this show fighting for members of Congress to pass the GI Bill for veterans, how they love to use the military for their political purposes, but then screw the military when it comes to benefits.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Unfortunately, politicians on both sides have done it before, and it's unfortunate that the political convenience of using veterans is all too often exploited. And I think that this is just another example of that.
8,000 veterans IAVA polled, and a lot of folks will be shocked to hear 62% say NFL players have the right to peacefully protest. You would think when you listen to some of these conservative media outlets that all veterans are against these players and are offended.
You know, the reason that we actually asked our members is because nobody was specifically. And it frustrated, I know myself personally, but many of us, that everybody was being painted in with one brushstroke. There are certainly vets' opinions out there that are all across the map, and we felt like it was important to expose the fact that, quite frankly, as you see in the numbers, that many of our members and veterans across the board not only support the right to peacefully protest, but the biggest takeaway, actually I think there's two, is one is that we all don't share the same opinion, but all of us, I would say everyone who responded, not in the top 5 of our top issues were these protests. So when our members are asked what they want the White House focusing on, it's not NFL protests, it's hurricanes, it's the threats in North Korea, it's veteran suicide, not, politically posturing around football games. Also, you have 49, I think it's like 48 or 49% of those veterans polled who disagree with Donald Trump and the position he's taken on this issue. Exactly. In fact, more disagree than agree. And I think that it's important, again, to just show those numbers, and that our veterans are split on this. There are many who disagree with how the NFL has actually handled this situation as well. I think that that's something that continues to evolve, which we saw overnight. But point blank, veterans are as diverse as America. So the fact that one could claim that we all speak in one voice is wrong, but it silences the voices of especially the most diverse among us. And something that I try to remind people, as I've been talking about this over recent weeks, is there are also service members who don't have the voices that many of us vets do. Those guys are standing in line and they're asked to shut up versus speaking up. And I think it's really important to expose the diversity of the opinions in the veterans community on their behalf as well.
How many of your members are African American?
Our members are about what the actual military is, so slightly more than the average population. So I think that in the military today, it's somewhere around 18 to 20% is African American, which is like a hair greater than the actual American population. But generally, we're about as diverse as you'd see the American population right now. Hispanic.
I asked that because I wanted to know how many of the people who are saying that the protest is they agree with the protest are African Americans, and they are protesting because of the injustice of African Americans. Do they correlate at all?
I can't speak to that actual data correlation. I can tell you in our most recent comprehensive member survey that 70% of our members were white. So if that gives you like a good picture, it means that there's a diversity of the members who actually believe that the right to protest should be protected.
Good.
And is there any effort on the part of your organization or others to show support in another way beyond the polling data?
I think what's most important for us is to make sure that all the voices are heard. Like, that's the shame here, is that there are people who feel very differently across the board. I mean, speaking from my own experience, I care deeply not only about this country. I'm somebody who puts my hand over my heart and stands and at the national anthem most times. But I also fought in Iraq twice to protect the right for people to peacefully protest. I think not enough of us reflect on the fact that many of these players are also risking an incredible amount of privilege to take this stand here as well. And that's a level of courage that I have an appreciation for as a combat vet myself.
I want to go back to that point, Allison. You just said, because it's amazing when people say why veterans are out there fighting. That is this is what I just don't understand. That's the point. When they say protect freedom, there's a reason it's called the First Amendment.
Absolutely. And I think that we're seeing today that there are people protesting all kinds of different things, right, Roland? And as long as it's peaceful, I believe that I fought for the right for women to protest earlier this year, for other folks to, as long as it's peaceful, to protest how they see fit for the issues that they feel like they need to get visibility of. And I think many of our members feel the same way.
Folks, you want to see the poll, go to IAVA.org/anthem. Allison, that's where the poll is?
Yes, that is. Sorry.
All right, IAVA.org/anthem. Allison Jaslow, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh, my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
News One Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.